Hi, I'm Asfa Zafira binti Azlan, and today I will be presenting on Introduction to Gamification. But before that, let's take a look on the differences between game, gamification, and game-based learning. So, when you hear the words games, what comes into your mind? Is playtime. Do you get excited? Do you want to participate? So, what is meant by game? Okay, as you can see on the slide, the games are just for fun, may or may not have defined rule and objective. Okay, now I want to ask, can you list me games that you ever played? I guess there are plenty of games that are on your mind right now, right? For example, chess, Minecraft, and so on. So yeah, back to our topic just now. From the word games itself, there are two other terms that you might heard before. Do you ever heard about gamification and game-based learning? Gamification is the concept of the use of game elements in a non-gaming context during the learning process. It doesn't matter in the classroom or any online platforms. For example, the games elements such as the teachers conducting a lesson by giving points or stars for the students that answer this question correctly. It is more to learning management system of the teacher itself. Okay, what about game-based learning? Game-based learning is the process and practice of learning by using games. In another word, that means you are in the game when the learning process is happen. For example, game-based learning such as when we play chess, it indirectly encourages us to think the strategies to win the game and boost the planning skills. In short, it is the game that aided in education. Can you see the difference? They comes from the same root word, which are games, but different concept is applied for each term. Okay, now you have already clear what is game. Now let's focus on the differences of gamification and game-based learning in terms of modification and assessment. By focusing on modification of gamification, usually the game-like elements are adjusted to fit the lesson content. Meanwhile, as for game-based learning, it is where the lesson content is adjusted to fit the games. As for assessment, usually gamification involves assessment that is not within the game. For example, the game elements is conducted to learn a lesson. However, the assessment will be carried out outside the game elements, maybe in the form of written test or verbal test. Meanwhile, as for game-based learning, the assessment is in the game. A student is assessed based on the score collected while playing the game, either by winning the games or losing the games. As for examples of platforms that can be gamification, such as Google Classroom, Duolingo, ClassDojo, Edmodo, also Quizzes, Quizlet, Kahoot, and Blueprint. Do you familiar with some of these platforms, right? Later, Syaril will be explained in details on what is Edmodo actually. Meanwhile, as for examples of game-based learning such as chess, Minesweeper, Cellcraft, and Monster Physics. As you can see, Cellcraft and Monster Physics are amongst the game-based learning for science education. Let's focus on the gamification itself since our topic today is gamification. So, once again, gamification is the concept of using game design elements and non-principle in non-game context in learning to make the students more fun and engaging. A similar definition of gamification is a set of activities within a lesson by applying the properties of games. Gamification has been proven to increase the level of engagement and motivation in students' learning. This is applied mainly in the classroom and non-learning environment. An educator may gamify their teaching instruction with various types of game design elements to show the students' learning progress, to indicate the achievements, and to give out rewards to the students. Gamification brings positive changes in students' behavior and attitude towards learning. Learning can be fun with gamification. Next, there are 7 concepts of gamification that involve. Firstly, the goals. For example, by applying gamification concept, the goals for students is to answer the question or quiz given by the teacher and collect as many rewards or stuff. Next, the learning is involved in this concept. This is because in order to answer the questions, the students must have knowledge and pay attention on what they have learned in the particular session. Third, the skills. Gamification environment somehow can develop the skills in students, such as communication skills when they answering the questions. And then next, there are some achievements. For example, for students who collect the most number of stars or badge given by the teacher every time for answering the question is an achievement to the students itself. Furthermore, the challenge for the students in order to answering the question is one of the concept of gamification. And lastly, the competition. When the students compete with their friends to collect more stars when the rewards or the collected points are visible to other students. This indirectly leads to the students' engagement in the gamification section. Next slide, as you can see, this is how does the gamification works in cultivating students' engagement. When students earn points, receive rewards, overcome challenges, unlock new levels, or see their names on the leaderboard, their brain releases dopamine that makes them feel good and motivated them to chase after more rewards. So this is how gamification concept is applied. Now, let's take a look on the elements in gamification. The elements can be divided into 2 categories, which are game mechanics and game dynamics. Looking at the game mechanics, for example, score rank, level badges, trophy team, progress bar, and leaderboard, as you can see, are used to gamify the lesson. They encourage user behavior through rewards, point feedbacks, and other kinds of incentive. In short, the game mechanics are the foundation for gamification of a non-gamified entity. However, looking at the second element, which is the game dynamics, such as the achievement, progress, collaboration, and competition. As I mentioned just now, game mechanics can drive the user's motivation for a while. However, when things get repetitive, the users or the students tend to get boring with the games. That's when the game dynamics comes in. This game dynamic combines the user's behavior with the game mechanics and evolve them over time to avoid making the games look boring or dull. Now, let's take a look on gamification theory in education. How does it involve in education? As we know that learners learn best when they are also having fun. Also, the learners learn best when they have goals, targets, and achievement to reach for in an engagement environment. The addictive features of video games that excites the children in primary school and also teenagers in secondary schools to get them hooked with the lesson, and thus will lead to engagement with these game-based elements are applied to the learning materials. Furthermore, the gamification in learning involves the using of game-based elements such as point scoring, peer competition, score tables, help students to assimilate new information and test their knowledge. It can apply to school-based subjects, showing that the effects of gamification do not stop even when the students are teenagers. I think that's all from me. I will pass the floor to Anissa to continue the presentation.